I love that jam that we picked out. I'm glad I learned the electric guitar really fast to play you this intro to the most awesomest podcast in Payne County. Yeah. Welcome back to another installment of Pastors of Payne. We are the pastors of Payne County, Stillwater. Payne County, America, where the capital of our awesome county is Stillwater. At least I hope so. I'm currently making stuff up.
Stillwater is the county seat.
Ooh, really?
Which is why we have the jail, Payne County Jail, and the Payne County Courthouse.
Oh, save the day.
All that.
O'Brien,
that's right.
Save the day.
Right here, one of 77 counties in
Do you have a favorite one? Do you have a favorite name of a county? Mine is Pushmataha.
Potawatomi.
Oh, yes.
That's a good one.
I love the Pushmataha County.
I know I like, too,
Southeast Oklahoma.
our good friend, our mutual friend, Father Jack Gleason, who's from Blackwell.
Uh-huh.
He used to, whenever I'd say, you going to Blackwell to see your parents? And he's, yep, K County.
Is that what K County is?
K County. So I like the sound of that. I like the crisp, But anyway,
okay.
But I love Payne County. Before I moved here, I never really gave it the time of day. I'd been here, I think I came for a football game, a couple basketball games.
Uh-huh.
I came one time to see you.
That's it.
That was about it.
A handful of times.
Now it's my life.
Now it's your life. Well, welcome everybody around the world and on other planets to Payne County, America, where the county seat, I've just learned, is in fact Stillwater.
Our podcast passed a milestone, Father Kerry.
Really?
We just passed 25,000 downloads as a podcast.
Is that a lot?
I think. I don't know.
Dang.
Seems like a lot.
The people out in the hallway gave us a thumbs down. They're like, it's lame. No one's listening to it.
I don't know what other, I'm sure there's podcasts out there where that's like, what they get in a day. But, I think for our little effort here.
I picked up some listeners in New Zealand recently.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Some TU grads moved to just outside of Auckland.
What's very funny is the people who say, we've been doing it for, a year and a half now or so. And it's the people who say, I just started listening and I'm on episode 6. And I'm like, oh boy, you got, what were we talking? What did we talk about on that episode? Oh, I think it was,
our hairlines, our receding hairlines.
But I thought, wow, you got a lot to catch up on. But I think what most people say, and we'll just take this as a compliment, and that is sort of the length of it, right? It's like 30 minutes.
29
and a half,
Header and footer.
And so for people who have like a little commute, okay, listen, you got a 15-minute commute. All right, half the show on the way to work, half the show on the way back.
The priest tells you got 15 minutes of penance you need to do. You can at least listen to 15 minutes. I mean, it's a worthy penitential podcast. Well, welcome to Stillwater. Father Kerry Wakulich. I'm the pastor of St. John Catholic Student Center. I'm here with my casa amigo, my friend, Father Brian. I can't remember your last name.
You know what's annoying?
Brian.
We should do a show on things that annoy us.
Oh, yes.
So the other day, I was at your place for the little tailgate before the game.
Uh-huh.
So Oklahoma State, if you don't know, Oklahoma State played McNeese State, which is a university located in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Anyway, these guys are there, and so I introduced myself, and I said, Father Brian O'Brien. And the guy a super nice guy, immediately launches into like an Irish joke. Like ugly brogue and everything. And I was just like, what is this? What prompts this? Like, do I do that to people? Like, I don't know. I hope I don't. Gosh.
You're like 19th generation Irish, aren't you?
Yeah. It's not, yeah. Obviously my name is very Irish.
I heard your mother said to me, I said, why'd you choose Brian O'Brien? And your mother says, because Marty wouldn't let me choose Seamus McFaddy.
My mom would never say that. She's too dignified.
That is true. She is dignified,
my name,
but she
if I
would
was
say
a
that.
girl. Do you know what your name would be if you were a girl? Is it Carrie?
No.
Oh.
I think I got a gender
My
neutral.
sister's name is Carrie.
I know.
I was told once when I was little, my name, if I was a girl, my name was going to be Caitlin.
Wow.
Just so you know.
That is
just keep that in mind.
A lot different than Brian O'Brien.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, again, welcome back, Father Brian O'Brien. He's the pastor of the Temple to the Living God, St. Francis Xavier, out on the corner of Country Club
still going strong.
Country Club, and where is that?
McElroy.
Country Club in McElroy. West. And if you're coming into town for a football game, every home game there's
multiple mass options.
There's morning mass at St. Francis Xavier, and then
at 9.
At 9 o'clock. So before a game, you can come and you can pray for our team. You can pray for the people traveling. You can just hang out with the good Jesus. Also, after every football game, on the corner of Miller and Knobloch, right next to the football stadium, if a game starts at 6, mass is at 4 o'clock. And if a game starts at 4 or 2, mass is half hour after the game.
What about if it starts at 11?
Then there is no mass.
Wow. So basically just check the website.
Yeah, CatholicPokes.com or on Twitter or on Facebook, Instagram, or on those planes flying around in the air. We don't put our information on that one, but you can look up anyway to Allstate. Did I just plug Allstate?
You did.
I'll take another drink out of my chill water mug. Glug, glug, glug. Okay, so speaking of you and your parish, tell me,
exciting.
There's been some exciting movements in the city of Stillwater and kind of around the country, but also in the city of Stillwater recently. Why don't you, Father Brian O'Brien, Irish ancestry, I'll lob the mic to you.
Of what's been going on at the parish?
Yeah, what's been going on at your parish? What's been going on in the life of St. Francis Xavier?
Well, okay. So maybe about a week and a half ago now, there was the Department of Homeland Security.
What?
Came to Stillwater.
Oh yes, I do remember.
So you may have seen, especially if you live in Stillwater, you knew about it, and if you live in the Oklahoma City area, this is something I still can't get used to living in Stillwater. Is that we're a TV market of Oklahoma City.
Oh yes,
which is still weird. No, we don't have a television at our house, and so I don't like. I'm still much more connected to the city of Tulsa than to the city of Oklahoma City. But anyway, so a week ago Thursday, there was the Department of Homeland Security came in and basically like kind of raided, if you will. I don't know what the proper legal term is. 2 restaurants here in Stillwater. And a bunch of people were
Chick-fil-A?
Were rounded up.
No, it wasn't It wasn't Casa Bonita?
One restaurant was called El Vaquero,
okay,
and the other is called Palominos.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
And they came in and basically detained everybody who was involved. So that I got a call that Thursday morning that this was happening. So not I didn't
like in the middle of it happening. Like somebody's live tweeting you or live calling you?
No, I was getting texts from parishioners.
But why would they call you?
Because I'm their priest.
Oh, so is it mostly Hispanics? Is it whites?
It was mostly Hispanics, many of whom are my parishioners.
Whoa.
And so you don't know exactly what to do in the moment, but so I went to El Vaquero just to kind of get a sense. There were still law enforcement there, and we were encouraged to stay off the property and stay outside. So really just trying to get information of where people were, kind of immediately thinking, all right, let's try to help people. What do people need? I'm not trying to get in the way of law enforcement, of doing what they think they need to do, but these are my people, and who are they being affected? Are their families being affected? Do they have legal representation? Sort of all of that.
Yeah, because these are your parishioners and your friends. You see them at Sunday Mass.
And you know what? And I would say that even if they weren't, I would still have some, responsibility to them. But I'm getting these texts, and so I'm kind of in it. So went to El Vaquero to kind of get the lay of the land. I'd heard that they were at the Payne County Jail, so I went to the Payne County Jail, and they were not at the Payne County Jail. So then I went over to the other restaurant, to Los Palominos, and was there. And there were federal agents there as well. And so then news reporters started to show up and other people. Very odd was the people were like kept pulling. It was probably noon, 12:30. So people are rolling up to Palomino's like for lunch.
And you're like, oh, I'm sorry.
And it's closed. I mean, obviously it's closed. There's federal agents inside. And so I'm standing there like I'm on the phone. When in between phone calls, I'm like praying the rosary. and all these people are like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm sorry, they're closed. And I'm sure those people were so confused. Like,
why a priest was
telling them? Why is there a
them?
priest standing in front of this restaurant? I'm just trying to get some lunch.
So I went to Palomino's today, and this priest turned me away, and I couldn't have avocados.
These priests are so mean. they won't even let me have lunch. So was there for a little while, and then went back to. So it turns out that everybody was taken to the Stillwater jail, and so I went to the Stillwater jail, and still wasn't able to see everybody because they were being processed. I did meet with an agent from Homeland Security, and really my goal then, as it is now, was just to be an honest broker between law enforcement and my people. So knowing that a lot of folks had children in school, there was at least one person who had a health condition that we wanted to make sure that people knew about, so he could be cared for and have his medication. So that was the day, and it was not the way I thought my day was going to go.
Right on. When
I woke up. So then really the goal was just to, what do people need? Mm-hmm. Do people need food? Do people need legal representation? Are their kids going to get picked up from school? So kind of just trying to maneuver all that. And people were wonderful. This was not a one-man show by any means. Both my parish staff really jumping on board, and then just a lot of just community kind of volunteers. So then our next step, we got really, I think probably the hero of the week was Catholic Charities of Eastern Oklahoma, which is headquartered in Tulsa, but has, of course, offices all over the place, including right here in Stillwater. We've been partnering with them using the old St. Francis Xavier, where we're going to offer high school equivalency classes in English and Spanish. And so we've already had this partnership, and I know those folks well. So I was able to get on the phone with them and say, look, what do you got? So it turns out Catholic Charities is doing a lot to help people with immigration issues, including
from Burma,
not
China,
it's not just
from Central and South America.
Thing.
Yeah, for people who are like
refugees and yes, all of that. So Catholic Charities of Eastern Oklahoma has 6 immigration attorneys full time on staff. So what we tried to let's organize so people are, and I think really the biggest thing was people were scared. There was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of rumors, a lot, and that happens in our day and age. So trying to find out what was the real information, what's really going on, and then trying to be Christ. How can we help people who are in need?
Yeah, there's that line that says, of welcoming the stranger. Like the stranger, the orphan, the immigrant. Sure. How are we welcoming these people in? And
so really, and Matthew 25 comes, and it's when did we...
The judgment day, the
Lord,
sheep and the goats.
Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, and thirsty and give you drink, and naked and clothe you, and in prison and you visited me? And Jesus says, what you did for the least of my brothers and sisters, you did for me. So I had that in mind throughout the day of, don't get caught up in the legal stuff, because that's over my head. It's a complicated, and we'll get into that a little bit. But just serve people, help people. What do people need, and how can you bring people comfort in a difficult time? So that led to then the next day we had mass at the church.
The very next day,
like
24 hours later.
Yep. So we just mass to get people together, and let's just pray for each other, pray for a resolution to all this. And then after Mass, we had like a kind of a community meeting, and it was really led by an immigration attorney from Catholic Charities who just gave people information. Here's what happened yesterday, and then here are your rights and responsibilities going forward.
Right. Correct.
And so then since then we've really just been trying to meet individual needs. So not only were the people who were detained on that day, of course their families were affected, but these restaurants were now then shut down basically for a week or more.
Wow. Okay.
So then you have other people out of work. So identifying those people, and then working through our what we call our Mother Teresa ministry, which is just we help people with bills, gas and groceries and things like that. And that's not just Catholics and not just people caught up in
the poor and those in
need.
Thing. There's college students too. We help them.
Yeah. And that's a wonderful ministry, and that's totally funded by the people of St. Francis Xavier and other donations that come in.
Yeah.
And so just trying to help people kind of through this kind of period of transition. And that's really where we are.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. Your family is immigrants. My family's immigrants. I was talking to my dad one time, and he said his dad had fled because they grew up in Russia.
Yeah.
They fled the Bolsheviks, like the communists, like the rise of communism, the post-World War I. Is like you either serve the Tsar's army and die on the front, or you get out of here. And so my grandfather, Sam Wakulich, left at the age of like 15 with his 8 brothers. And good old Sam. And they fled to New York. And like my dad was raised in, and I didn't realize this till a couple of years ago, my dad was raised in like a Russian ghetto. Like the projects of a Russian project where all these people were fleeing to the United States. And same thing with his mom. They fled. My great-grandmother's paperwork said the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. They had to get out or they were going to be overrun. And so they just fled or even the persecution of Catholics in France. Like my grandparents were Quebecois. They were French Canadians. And they came to western Kansas to farm. And so this is, I think my life has always been wrapped up in like the immigrants, and my families have always been poor and so always depended on the church.
Trying to get out of in that case, it was a political situation that was dangerous. But we also have a lot of folks around the world, and this is true Mexico and the United States, but Central America, but it's also true, all over Europe. Oh my gosh. The number of folks from kind of Northern Africa trying to make it to Italy,
and dying along the way too.
Cuba coming to Florida.
Yes.
It's happening all over the country.
Because they
even South Sudan, where there's a civil war. So it's happening all over the place. So it's not always. A lot of times it's political. A lot of times it's economic. A lot of times, and this was my big concern when that was all happening here in Stillwater, was really just of keeping families together. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we can get into a little national debate here. That's where I think our immigration system is broken, and I think there would be sort of widespread agreement on that among Republicans and Democrats. Certainly, leaders in the Catholic Church, the bishops of the United States have been very forceful in saying that our system is broken. But now, then you get to how do you fix it?
And that's the hard.
And so then you get to the kind of the two sides, if you will, sort of enforcement first, and that's what we're seeing now in the Trump administration. And that is you build a wall, you deport, you sort of strengthen the border, which I think the bishops would say that's a component of it. The United States and every country in the world has a right to defend your borders and has a right to regulate.
Correct.
Who comes into your country and who doesn't.
Exactly.
We are not, we don't believe in, and you hear this again in politics of this political candidate is, they're for open borders. Okay, speaking for the Catholic Church, we are not for open borders. But there are some other principles. And so the bishops they kind of put it like there's three principles. 3 principles.
Can you count? Are you like
3?
You're like 1, and then you touch your pinky.
So this is Catholic social teaching. So the first principle.
What document is this?
This is from the U.S. bishops coming out of a document on Catholic social teaching.
Okay.
So the first principle: people have the right to migrate to sustain their lives and the lives of their families.
Okay.
All right. Now we don't stop there, but we would say that people, generally speaking, have the right to move around in order to take care of themselves and their families.
Feed their families.
The second principle, a country has the right to regulate its borders and to control immigration.
Okay.
Right? So countries have that.
Number 2.
That particular
third
right.
one.
And number 3, a country must regulate its borders with justice and mercy.
Ooh. Okay.
So that's where probably principle 3 is where it gets a little
hairy,
a little
sticky.
messy. So let me just read this little piece, and it talks about what they call undocumented immigrants. So it says undocumented immigrants present a special concern. Often their presence is considered criminal since they arrive without legal permission. And I had this happened this week. This sort of came to me through that we were in the news a lot and that our church was helping people. We were on the news in Oklahoma City. And somebody said to a staff member of mine, why does your church help criminals?
Oh, so undocumented equals criminal.
Right. So in their was like that in their mind, that was why would your church help? What kind of a church would do that?
Oh, okay. I can see the logic there.
So that was one little feedback. So the bishops continue. Under the harshest view, undocumented people may be regarded as undeserving of rights or services. That's probably what this person would say. This is not the view of Catholic social teaching. The Catholic Church teaches that every person has basic human rights and is entitled to have basic needs met: food, shelter, clothing, education, and health care. Undocumented persons are particularly vulnerable to exploitation by employers.
Oh, yes.
And they are not able to complain because of the fear of discovery and deportation.
Uh-huh.
Current immigration policy that criminalizes the mere attempt to immigrate with an I, and imprisons immigrants who have committed no crime and who have already served a just sentence for a crime is immoral. In the Bible, God promises that our judgment will be based on our treatment of the most vulnerable. Before God, we cannot excuse inhumane treatment of certain persons by claiming that their lack of legal status deprives them of rights given by the Creator.
Ouch.
Yeah. So it's
my God,
so I think what I would just encourage, and there's been and in a good way, there's been a lot of discussions this week, and very healthy people. I've found people even people who are disagreeing, are very charitable about it. Immigration is messy. It's messy. And so to say all we need to do is
this thing, push this magic button and
all
it
we
all
need
goes
to do
away.
is just legalize everybody. Okay, well that's not the solution. All we need to do is build a wall. Not the solution. It's not that simple. And what's happened, I think politically, is we have maybe tried little things here and there, but there has not been this whole mess is a result of really failed immigration policies.
Okay.
And I think both political parties have blame there, and now caught in the middle of that, we saw it right here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Are a lot of folks who really are working to support themselves and their families, and who are good, hardworking folks, and get caught up.
Yeah,
all that.
Just to go back to the one point is especially people who are here illegally. When I was working at St. Thomas More in Tulsa, you would find people who hadn't been paid in months.
Yep.
They were being exploited as workers.
Yep.
And it's like these groups of dudes had built all these houses for this housing project and made $0. And they come, I learned this phrase, Padre, no tengo comida ni un taco. Like, we don't even have a tortilla. We have not enough money. Mm-hmm. And these dudes would spend hours building things around the church. Like, I needed help with some stuff. These guys were on it. Boom, boom, boom. Always super generous with their time.
Yep.
Love the Lord. Love being here in the U.S. And then there was these corrupt people who would take advantage of them just because they were here, because they couldn't report them. So it was a sad time just to be with
there is
those sorts of
threat,
immigrants.
that threat of exploitation is very real. It happens, in the church. We've learned a lot. We've talked in the past about just kind of sexual abuse in the church and elsewhere in the larger society. And it's true that children of immigrants, or especially if somebody's here undocumented, an abuser will know that, and so the children will be a greater target, because if they ever found out, they won't tell. and their parents won't tell because that would involve law enforcement.
And they're going to get deported.
And so there's this underlying sort of vulnerability there that I think the church tries to step into. And at the same time, and this is where I had a lot of questions this week, and and people would say like, well, what's the church doing like to teach them English? And the answer is we're offering English classes. Like we do that all over the place. Well, what's the church doing to help people like on the path to citizenship? We have 6 immigration attorneys at our Catholic Charities, who are assisting people all the time. And so it's trying to sort of stand in the gap of a very complex situation and simply try to be Christ. And do we always get it right? No. Do we kind of maybe err on one side or the other? Yeah, but that's just the messiness of trying to serve people. I think one positive thing though I'll say is I had a number of people throughout the week. One person said I saw them there at the store, and they said I didn't really realize there were like Spanish speakers here, and I was like,
what?
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. I mean, so if anything, it's kind of raised the people's awareness that there are a lot of, on the campus of OSU, in the larger community, both here in Stillwater and then even in the cities and towns beyond.
Yeah, there are Burmese immigrants here. There are immigrants from Indonesia.
Yep.
There are Korean immigrants here in Stillwater.
Well, I think they would have said like, yeah, of course there's international students because we're a university. But there was no sort of recognition of like, oh yeah, there's probably a lot of Spanish speakers here.
If you're having sushi in the city of Stillwater, it's Burmese people who have fled Burma because of persecution, because people are being murdered in small villages. They're like, we're getting out of here.
Yep.
And that's why there's Burmese here in Stillwater.
But I think if anything, again, trying to just to put a human face on it.
Yes.
I think there's a sense, and it's true in all of our politics. Like there's a sense that we sort of stand for a particular political position, but without sort of recognizing the human face behind it. And I think even that's true. We're obviously very pro-life and we're against abortion, but there's a very human face to that, and that's a teenage girl who's in a crisis pregnancy. To just simply say, like, outlaw abortion. Okay, but you know what? There's still going to be this teenage girl who's in a crisis pregnancy. All right, you've outlawed abortion. Well, now what? What are you doing? What are you doing for this young woman? And so there's national debates to be had and state level debates to be had. But ultimately, my hope is, and what I've tried to do over the last 10 days or so, is to be kind of the human face of that, put a human face on it, and help people with what they need here and now. Whatsoever you did to the least of my brothers and sisters, you did for me.
Give our people something they should read, maybe from the Catechism or Rerum Novarum or this document.
So this goes way back. 1891 was when Rerum Novarum came out, which is a document on human labor. I would encourage you to go to the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops website, usccb.org/immigration. Okay. And there'll be a bunch of documents and just really good stuff, things for small groups, things for kids, things for teenagers, parish groups. There's a lot of resources there. Ultimately, that this be taken to prayer
and look people in the eyeballs.
Yeah, and that you know your neighbors.
There's a human side to this,
and do what you can to assist and those who are in need, whether it's related to immigration or some other social issue.
Pray and fast for our nation that this bond of love may be brought together in our country.
Yeah, we're in this together. And it doesn't always seem that way.
It doesn't.
But hopefully, in our little corner of the woods here in Stillwater, Oklahoma, we're trying to do that, and people have been really generous, and we're very grateful for that.
Live out Matthew's gospel, y'all. Thanks for tuning in to another installment of Pastors of Pain. I'm Father Kerry, Father O'Brien. We'll see you next Sunday.
God bless you.